Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the same like here representing Team JUS here to give you guys a review for something very special. And it's a movie that almost didn't actually get distribution because it was technically reversed, canceled, made its way back, pump faked, and made it. And to be quite frank, it's actually pretty good. And I'm talking about Coyote versus Acme. Now, this is directed by Dave Green, writers including Jeremy Slater, James Gunn. This is starring Will Forte. He plays this lawyer that works and exists in a world that has cartoons. Like, think Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You know, in Framed Roger Rabbit, you have like tunes that are working and doing different odd jobs and stuff like that. But the world is also very cynical towards them, and they don't care necessarily about them. Case in point, you've got Wile E. Coyote. Wile E. Coyote, we know he's always wanted to eat this Roadrunner by any means necessary. He is fast in his own right, but he's never been able to catch him. He has used every gadget, every kind of trick in the book you think of. He is a tactician that has never been successful. So he decides to hire, and ask for Kevin Avery, who's Will Forte's character, to say, hey, I think, and he has to write this out because he does not speak, that the reason why I cannot catch this Roadrunner and why I am continuously failing is because I'm being given faulty product. And the whole system is made to make my situation where I have to keep purchasing things that even if I got a insurance on them or not, they are made to be faulty. And I don't believe that this is a clear justice. And he's got his own schemes and whatnot, but the premise is very interesting because this is actually based on something that happened that was actually written in 1992 of the same exact topic, roughly based on a circumstance of what if someone decided to say this major corporation is using me against as a propaganda to do something else. And we've seen that, of course, in so many different other mediums, like in real life. And this movie takes luxuries from not just the article, but certain things that are happening even today, which makes it, even though it's silly, even though it's ridiculous, very heartfelt, very, it's not just about the underdog. It's about what is the reality of right and wrong, what is the significance of a truth, and also what should you do in the midst of adversity? Should you tank? Should you let it ride? Or should you do something? And this movie invokes a lot of different emotions like that while using very comical characters that we all know and love. Now, Will Forte as Kevin, I think he does a really good job. I think he interacts all well with the rest of his other cast, including John Cena, Lana Condor, Tone Bell, and a couple others. John Cena plays Buddy Cray, who's the opposing lawyer coming against him. They were, I guess, rivals in Harvard. And he plays a sleazeball, of course, because he's working for Acme against him. But I think as the movie goes on, you start to see some very interesting things to uncover about the circumstance that revolves around a major corporation and what that can actually do when you're the little guy. How much so has this been continuing? And what happens when a small rock hits a very big pond? That's where this movie invokes some very important emotional themes that I think are handled really well, and while at the same time dealing with a lifelong rivalry in its own right with the Roadrunner and the Wile E. Coyote. Now, give huge respect to the amazing voice talent of Candy Milo and Eric Baza. Both of them do all the voice for all the different characters. Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Foghorn Leghorn. Foghorn Leghorn in this movie is ridiculous, by the way. Like, pay close attention to everything. Like, they do something very interesting with this character. Even Tweety Spielberg. Like, the way that they use these characters, it reminds me so much of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because when Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out, Tunes, like, you can get hurt, right? But they had like this random like ooze that could like kill Tunes like for good. But it wasn't about that. It was about the emotions that they were being pressured into feeling because of the normal stigma of a certain demographic of people and how they're perceived to be less or more than another. And this movie makes me feel that in certain ways while still being absolutely silly. But I had the honor of being able to talk to Candy and Eric, and they are amazing talents. And I'll definitely, at the end of this, I'll link my small, brief interview with them that I had for something previously. Jim Cummings plays the role of Tasmanian Devil. The animation, I'm just going to let you guys know, is very surreal. So again, I gave you guys Who Framed Roger Rabbit. If you've seen maybe the last Space Jam movie, the second one that a lot of people didn't necessarily gravitate towards, or if you think about the first Jam, they take 2D renders, right, and overlay them with natural communication bridges. So you may have a person and you may have a tune interacting and interfacing at the same time. The difference with this movie and that is they use the concept of sketch viz, which is basically taking 2D positions that are kind of sketched out and using those as a reference for 3D animators to go and make something as a whole that is based on the 2D animation but invoked by 3D animation. And if you look at anime now, a lot of the animes actually do that. If you look at not the last Dragon Ball Z movie, but the Dragon Ball Z movie, well, technically more the last Dragon Ball Z movie, but the movie before that, which is the Broly movie, they do something very interesting with how they handle 3D animation within the action side of things. And I think that they handle it really well. But with this, it's interactive. So you get to see them looking 2D while interfacing in a three-dimensional space. And that's really hard to do because they're still using the 2D frames to do everything. And it's a very interesting feat and it's well appreciated. I kind of don't know, I don't know if you can consider this an animated film. I really truly think this is a live action film that just has real Looney Tunes. I don't know how to really kind of put it. But the other thing I'll say, and again, I think that the voice acting is great. The way they handle the story is really well done. The message behind it and the actual narrative, the narrative itself is very simplistic, but the themes behind it are so well written and very invoking and important. If you don't pay attention, you'll miss it. It would behoove me not to say I'll give this film a 9 out of 10. This is really good. This is easily a B+ or A-. This is really good. But I want to talk about something that I brought up in the beginning, that this movie almost didn't get made. So in 2022, between March and May, they did the principal photography for the film in Mexico, and everything seemed like it was going through just fine. And then all of a sudden in like November of 2023, when it was time for things to come out, there are a couple different films that were nixed at Warner Brothers. One was Batgirl, one was, I think, Scooby-Doo, Holiday Hunt, and then it was this film. And part of that was because of a tax loss, and they basically would rather go and take the loss of $30 million and shelve it, never let it have distribution. But everybody, especially between Batgirl and this movie, had more so this movie and the themes behind it, based on this being on actual, like an actual thing that actually did happen. People were really going back and forth about it. And what they ended up doing is they had an opportunity of being able to go and do it. It's not through that studio umbrella. And it ended up going with the Catch Up Studio, and the Catch Up Studio gave them an opportunity of distribution. And lo and behold, it got debuted at San Diego Comic-Con, I believe, last year. And the rest is literally history, because they've been able to it's actually this year. So last year was when it got the confirmed distribution, and then this year at San Diego Comic-Con it was debuted and everybody loved it, and it's gotten critical acclaim ever since then. So the story behind it is even more engaging than the actual story itself. But you're in good hands. The movie is going to be available to everybody in less than 2 days on August the 28th. Go and check it out. Everything I've said to you, this is a crazy story. This is, it sells itself based on the story alone. And I mean the story behind the movie. And yet, when you actually get the movie, you will feel emotions. You will appreciate it. It's not too over the top, but at the same time, it is very important, some of the themes that are in this, to be able to understand and comprehend. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this review. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace, everybody.
Falling out the top of the